Hey, Trevor.
Hey.
Clap with me on 3. 1, 2, 3, clap. Okay?
1, 2.
I can't stand you. 1, 2, 3. I can't stand you. Gosh. I need you to clap with me on 3.
On 3?
1, 2. You're not even close.
On 3?
On 3. 1, 2. Why are you this way? You know what? I'm just gonna reach into your shot and clap.
What are we talking about today?
First of all, happy Monday. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. As
you're aware, Trevor, I went to the Creation Museum.
I am aware.
And the Ark Encounter.
All I got was this mug.
I got myself a t-shirt.
What's the phrase? All I got was this stinking mug.
Something like that.
Something like
You got a pretty cool mug.
It's a pretty cool mug, though.
It's a pretty cool mug.
It says the Ark Encounter.
Also, as we are filming in the daytime, children might run in and out of here.
Or just make sounds with their pop guns.
I really thought that I was going to be just kind of like underwhelmed with seeing the Ark, just because I feel like my expectations were so high. Mm-hmm. And I was not underwhelmed.
It's big.
It's big. It's really big. It wasn't bigger than I imagined it would be. It was like as big as I thought it would be. It was just still impressive, you know?
You
like you walked up the ramp into the Ark and it was like...
It was like that?
It was like that. It was like storm effects. And they had like kind of some lightning effects and stuff. And Desmond was really concerned. He was like, is the storm starting? Because we need to hurry up and get on this thing. Yeah. But it was just really cool to see. Like, I mean, the Bible talks about the materials used and the dimensions and everything. But they kind of take it a step further to be like, okay, let's think of how this would work practically. And so they go into like the ingenuity of like, if they had to store every kind of animal on Earth in this, Ark, what would that look like? And so they had cages and they had like little clay pots that like reptiles would be in. And I was like, that'd be pretty cool. Like I just never thought like, yeah, geckos running around the Ark, that'd be kind of difficult to keep track of, or like they might get stepped on. I don't know. Yeah. Just like, I just kind of always thought that it was just a miracle. It was all just a miracle.
Well, it was.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and it still
there's some practicality to it as well.
Yeah. It still could have been that way. They could have all just like free range inside of there. But if it were very orderly and organized, I think that they had a pretty good handle on what it looked like.
Yeah. That would make sense if it was orderly and done that way.
Usually that's what God does.
God is a God of order.
Yeah. But we also went to the Creation Museum, which I had zero expectations for. I have not looked up a single thing about it.
I don't think I have either.
And so I had no idea what to expect. A museum about the creation of the world. That's kind of what I was anticipating. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was. But it was way more modern than I kind of thought it might be. They had lots of screened interactions, and just a really good presentation of like, hey, if you're walking in off the streets and you've never heard of the idea of creationism, let me just run you through it real fast and tell you this is what it is. And I think they do a really good job of preparing you to walk through the entire museum as you're going through the museum. But they don't shy away from historical events at all. And I think that kind of going into it, like I said, I had zero expectations for it, but knowing that it's a biblical-based museum, I think that we're very used to like toning down things for church, and for like children's stories. And this was like, it's a family museum, And so like I that's kind of where my mind was. And we walked into one of the first like ancient rooms, and they have TVs on the walls of like biblical characters, like they're actors, they're standing there and they're just like looping in the room. And I was
So it's like a real scene, like people are, or is it like a?
No, it's a real room, but they have TVs, and then playing on each TV is just a video loop of a real person standing there dressed in the.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like the football when they're introducing all the guys.
Yeah.
The guy's just standing there, and you're like, is it a picture or is it
and then
real?
like you see him wink or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
And
like
it's like
he's-
okay, it's a video.
Oh,
So
he's
yeah,
doing something here.
it just loops like that. Really well done. It was awesome. It was so well done that I only filmed the first part of it, like when you first walk into it, and then I stopped filming because Ellie got my attention first, but she like kind of walked over and like shook my arm, and I was like, yeah, what's up? And she said, who is that? And she pointed to a TV across the room, and it was, and I could see said David on top of it. And it was this video loop of a guy standing with blood splattered on his face, holding the head of a man. And I was like, oh.
Of a big man.
Of a big man. It was a big head. And I was like, okay. So I had to stop everything and just like go like into parenting mode and be like, okay, so you remember David and Goliath? Yeah, he killed Goliath with a stone. Yeah. We don't share the rest of that story in the children's church department usually.
John did share that today.
He did, and I was like, oh my goodness, that's pretty awesome that it just happened. It's like still firmly in my mind. But
feed Goliath's carcass
to the birds, yeah,
and take his head to show everybody how strong God is.
Yeah, and so that's what they showed in the video, and I had to be like, yeah, the rest of that story is he cut his head off and showed it to the other army to be like, God's real, and your biggest warrior was defeated by a little shepherd boy. They did that. And then the one right next to it was of Rahab. And they were like, yeah, we've heard of, Joshua and the wall of Jericho. She even knew about Rahab. But like this woman standing there and she has like, tear-stained face. And like it's her everywhere around her is in ruins except for where she's standing. And it's like, even I was kind of caught off guard by that, to be like, yeah, I guess like everyone she knew died except for her and her family. Like it's great that they were spared, but it was still probably a really hard time for her and her family. Yeah. And so like we just got completely absorbed into like that. And I didn't even get to see the rest of the room because by the time we were done with that, they were like, all right, let's go to the next room. And that was my biggest complaint from like just my entire experience at the Creation Museum. There's so much to look at and so much to read that going with children is difficult because I want to stop and I want to read everything or just look at everything. And they see like just kind of the surface of like what's happening. And they're like, okay, I'm ready to go to the next room. Unless I make them stop and be like, well, look at this. Let me read this to you. I think
that's probably the case in most museums. You're just really more interested in the content than you are at some of the other museums. And I think also just knowing like the truth behind it probably gives you another element of like, okay, they're not just trying to like give me propaganda. Like, this is like real.
Yeah. So. And that's kind of how they presented it at the very beginning. They're like, we all have the same set of facts. And whether you admit it or not, we're all coming to it with our own perspective and our own worldview. This is how evolution interprets the facts. And this is how creationism interprets the facts. And so they're very honest and upfront to be like, hey, we all have the same facts. And this is how we use them. And this is how they use them. And it's how we think they abuse them. And, so it's
kind of like going back to like Ben Stein and what is it? Expelled?
Expelled, yeah.
That was a long time ago.
It was really good.
Probably dating ourselves there.
Remember back when we were young? Yeah. The great documentary Expelled.
Yeah. But he was just like, why? He was Jewish, right?
Yeah.
He was just coming at it from that perspective and just saying, why don't you teach creationism? Like, I get that you might have a different perspective, but why is it just dismissed that it could have been creation? Because the kids growing up in school systems today don't necessarily have that story ever told to them.
Right.
They may only have the evolution story told to them. And so it's like, that's really intellectually dishonest.
Right.
There's just no, like, there's not even given the option of it.
Right.
It just tells you how secular our world is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think that that's where, like, it's our responsibility as parents to step in and kind of give the other side of that.
Right.
To whatever culture is, trying to preach to our kids.
Yep.
But we kind of jumped straight into this, and I was too excited about the Creation Museum. I forgot about our Would You Rather.
Oh.
So would you rather empty a swimming pool using just a fork or get in a swimming pool for half an hour with a jellyfish?
Oh, I'd get in a swimming pool for half an hour with a jellyfish.
I would too, but we didn't specify what kind of jellyfish. What if it was a box jellyfish?
Well, I mean, most likely you could avoid it in a swimming pool. That's a pretty big. I don't know how big box jellyfish are. I don't think they're tiny, but at the same time,
big.
A swimming pool, like, I would think at the most, like, its tentacles would stretch like 6 feet, maybe 10 feet. So you could get on the other side of the pool and probably see it, probably watch it.
What if you were in a tiny, 6 foot above ground pool?
Well, I'm just saying, because the fear would be there.
Yeah. I mean, even if I was in a big pool, I would still be super afraid.
I mean, getting stung, barely by the end of a tentacle or something is different than getting, tangled up in it. Each barb is, putting poison in.
Oh, okay. I guess that's true.
So, that's what I'm saying.
It keeps on poisoning you after, it releases, the barbs stay, they stick into your skin.
Oh, like a bee stinger?
It keeps on poisoning you.
But I don't know if a bee stinger keeps
This took a very dark turn.
I didn't know that. But I think you could avoid it.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd still be scared and,
panicking
the whole time. But it's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Emptying a pool with a fork?
I think you would die of old age.
Yeah.
Trying to do that. Because I remember trying to just empty the last, few inches
even give me
out of our swimming pool with a bucket, and I was like,
I was gonna say, even give me a 5-gallon bucket, I'd still probably pick the jellyfish.
Yeah, it would take forever.
Yeah. No.
Or 30 minutes risking your life with a jellyfish.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I don't think you're necessarily risking your life. I think you're risking getting stung.
Yeah.
But you could be risking your life, but you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it's gonna come after you. It's not like a shark.
Right. You just gotta know where it is.
You gotta just keep an eye on that thing.
I have a couple of things that I wanted to share with you. The first one is, do you ever eat hot dogs? Are you a big hot dog eater?
I'm not a big hot dog eater.
I don't usually see you eating hot dogs. I eat more hot dogs than you do.
Hot dogs aren't necessarily a food that you seek out. They're not like a gourmet food. They're like a food that you eat just to be full. It's not necessarily a fun thing for me to eat a hot dog.
Well, it's going to be even less fun now.
Uh-oh.
Okay. It was discovered in 2015, and prior to that, probably still happening now because they haven't changed their regulations, that human DNA was found in about 2% of hot dogs that were analyzed in one study. A nonprofit group that analyzes food at the molecular level looked at 345 hot dog and sausage samples marketed under 75 different brands and sold at 10 different retailers.
Why are we just not hearing about it then?
They published it. It's just people are bringing it up again or discovering it.
2%.
2%. So it probably isn't people...
Yeah.
It's not like body parts. It's probably hair or skin or fingernails, things like that have fallen in during the hot dog process. And there's a certain percentage that is allowed for that to happen.
Is it 2%?
And I guess it's at least 2%.
And it's still there?
Yeah, as far as I've...
Like, nothing changed?
As far as I've researched, they've been like, stuff happens. So just know when you grab a hot dog...
That's pretty on par for the hot dog industry, I feel like, because it's like, yeah, we know this is terrible for you.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
I read that and I was like, I knew it was a lot of stuff that was in there. I didn't think it was human, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
May I have another hot dog, please?
You've seen these, like, survival shows, and it's like, okay, well, if I was on an island and I had a pack of hot dogs and I knew everything that was in that hot dog, but I was starving, easy, I'd eat the hot dogs.
I'm still going to eat. I've eaten a hot dog since I read about this.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying.
I don't have to be on an island to get this desperate.
I'm probably not saying I'm never going to eat a hot dog again, but I'm also saying you just got to know what you're getting into. Like, that this is purely, I want food right now, and this is a cheap option, or it's the only option.
Yeah, if you're on the island.
So
I don't know if there's anything you have thought about that you wanted to bring up. Anything that maybe happened to you over the weekend that you really need to talk about and really work through?
Gabriel. Funches touchdown! Nick Anderson!
I know that there's been a lot of pain for you this weekend.
Yeah.
And suffering. So I didn't know if you wanted to just get that off your chest.
I keep just... What helps me is remembering these numbers. 49 to 0.
So the past, living in the past is what helps you?
Yeah. So my team, the Texas Longhorns, lost to Laura's team, the Oklahoma Sooners. And
Boomer Sooner.
It was a tough game. It was a good game.
It was a very good game. It was probably
forth.
One of the best games that I've seen from them in a long time.
There were definitely things that, the refs cheated us.
Wow.
OU had to have paid them, which wouldn't surprise me. They steal signs, they pay the refs, they steal playbooks, all that kind of stuff.
That's a lot of slander that just came out of your mouth.
Well, they are called the Sooners, which means cheaters, so.
They were not cheaters. They were problem solvers.
Everybody look it up. I think they have the phrase, like, on their locker room, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, that kind of thing.
That's not true.
And
so if you're wondering what the textbook definition of a sore loser is, this is it right here.
I haven't finished saying.
I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be a sounding board for all of your pain and suffering, so I'm doing a bad job.
But it also doesn't completely derail the season.
No, it doesn't.
So
do you feel better? No.
Don't feel any different. So
I feel great. So
yeah.
I'm
glad you feel great.
Thank you. I will continue to root for Texas the rest of the season unless they face OU again, and then we obviously will have to part ways again.
This is why we have a healthy marriage.
It is. I always tell people that we have one really hard day of marriage every year, and it's the day that OU and Texas play each other. And I always say it jokingly, but it's kind of true that the hardest day of our marriage is one Saturday every year in the fall.
Yeah.
And like we have our spats and like.
Yeah, but as far as something that's outside of us getting mad at each other for dumb reasons.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
My reasons are never dumb.
the game is outside of our control.
So that was the weekend. That was fun for some of us. But I do want to rewind for one last thing.
Okay.
When you walk into the Creation Museum, they have all of these big posters and signs that talk about dragon legends throughout history. And you can go through and read about each one. And some of them I had heard before, some of them I had never heard before. And then in the middle they have the passage from Job that talks about Behemoth and Leviathan. And so it's really cool just to kind of like see all of these dragon legends and then like not compare them, but like put them in the same category as like what we see in scripture, to see like, hey, some of these legends might just be legends, but we also know that there is a biblical account of huge, terrifying animals. And I even asked AI to create, like I put in all the descriptions of Leviathan that Job gives in there, and I asked it to make a picture of Leviathan. This is what AI made for me.
Wow.
So I don't know if that's what Leviathan looked like, but I could see how that would be terrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was one that really caught my attention because it was the most recent one. It happened in 1890. So a strange winged monster discovered and killed on the Huachuca Desert. A winged monster resembling a huge alligator with an extremely elongated tail and immense pair of wings was found on the desert between the Whetstone and Huachuca Mountains last Sunday by two ranchers who were returning home from the Huachucas. The creature was evidently greatly exhausted by a long flight, and when discovered was able to fly but a short distance at a time. After the first shock of wild amazement, it passed the two men who were on horseback and armed with Winchester rifles. They regained sufficient courage to pursue the monster, and after an exciting chase of several miles, succeeded in getting near enough to open fire with their rifles, wounding it. The creature then turned on the men, but owing to its exhausted condition, they were able to keep out of its way, and after a few well-directed shots, the monster partly rolled over and remained motionless. The men cautiously approached it, their horses snorting with terror. So basically, they shot it down. They walked up to it. They said that its wings were furled underneath its body. They pulled the wingspan out, and they measured it, and it was 90 feet wingspan on one side. So it would have been 180 feet wingspan. And it was like lizard-like, like snake, lizard, alligator type. And it said that the wings were like almost translucent, and a bullet could easily pierce it. And so this was their account. They said they cut part of the skin away from it, and they brought that into town, showed everyone, and they said they were going to go back with tools to skin the whole thing and send it away to a university for them to research it. No one ever talked about it ever again. So no university ever got any specimen like this. The men never talked about going back to skin it. That was the only thing that was ever written about it. So a lot of people look back on this and they're like, okay, that is just a legend because no one ever brought it up ever again. If something that huge happened, then surely they would have followed through to go back and find this monster's skin or whatever. So then fast forward to the year 1930, between 1930 and 1940, the town had a huge celebration. And there was one old cowboy who stood up and he was like, I have to get this off my chest. And he said, I was one of the two cowboys who chased this monster down, and we lied. We never caught it. We saw it and we shot at it, and the horses turned away from it because they were scared, and we were scared too, and we didn't want to chase after it.
So they did never have a piece of skin?
So they never had a piece of skin. They never got close enough to measure everything. So all they had to go on was what these two men saw in the sky.
So why'd they make up the whole article?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But that's the only thing that actually makes it semi-plausible to me that actually happened, that a gruff old cowboy in his old age was like, everyone, I need to tell you something. Remember that old story? We lied and we were cowards and we ran away because it was a scary creature flying around in the sky.
I don't blame them for running away from that.
So it was that one was probably one of the most, or there were, all of the dragon legends are super intriguing to me because I think that we know that Leviathan was a water-based, fire-breathing animal with razor-sharp teeth, and so like I'm a firm believer that dragon-like animals have existed throughout history. I'd be really interested to know if any of them are still alive today. And hearing one happen in such a recent history would be really interesting to know if they actually do still exist.
Yeah.
And we could ever find one. So, all the dragon hunters out there, if you happen to come across a fire-breathing dragon or an alligator head-shaped flying lizard, let me know.
Call
us. So that's all the fun things that I have for today.
Man.
I think we're way out of time. So I do have a funny reel.
Okay.
Oh wow, is that a mockingbird?
No, is that a mockingbird? Is that a mockingbird?
Oh wow, is that a mockingbird?
I think I've seen it before. That's fun. Alright, I have two in case you've seen mine.
Okay.
Oh, dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, I want to dance with somebody. With somebody who loves me.
And then the other one's
I
pretty
have
good.
not seen that. Oh, man. Well, that's all I have for today. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Happy
Happy Monday. Jinx, yummy Coke.
I'm fresh out.
I'll take a Diet Dr. Pepper.
Oh, fresh out of those two.
Happy Monday.